They say dream big, but what does that actually mean? Well, on this channel, it means daily fantasy sports, and that's what we're talking about today. Basically, going to run through three separate lineups. We've been not really consistent on this channel, but when we're talking about big dreams, when we're talking about passion for the sport, that's what we're all purpose for here on the Big Z Breakdown today. Mike Zanetti joining you for another video. Basically, how do you win in DraftKings? So the DraftKings DFS, I know FanDuel does it as well. I like DraftKings mainly because of the salary cap and how certain players are cheaper. Last week we got Michael Wilson. Yes, it's been a while since I made a video. However, in order to answer the actual question, how do you win? It's really difficult because you really have to look at a lot of different things that go into a lot of different factors. And the biggest thing is we're going to show you basically three separate lineups as to what can potentially win this week. And I know there's a lot of weird games, just to list them off. Jets, Ravens, another just blowout game. There's a lot of big spreads this week. It's just really ugly. You really have to be perfect in order to get into the $1 million makers. So basically, let's run through quarterbacks real quick because the quarterbacks are the weirdest ones to narrow down. But let's break it down into three separate categories. And I think you can do that for every position. And basically, I will say, I'm just going to give you the information. You can do with it as you please. You can enter the certain lineups you want. Go for it. But basically, this is a breakdown of what the information provides. So as for quarterbacks, we'll break it down into highest priced, the cheapest price, and somewhere in the middle for value against a good opponent. Now, for the most expensive, I think we can make a lineup with Lamar Jackson because he is playing the Jets. As far as the least inexpensive, a sleeper rather, you have Aaron Rodgers is questionable. If Aaron Rodgers is ruled out tomorrow, we saw Mason Rudolph play very well in the game last week. DK was his leading target. I really wouldn't be surprised if we see a game where this is a very bad Bears defense. Yes, they have the most takeaways in the league, but if Mason Rudolph is the starter, that is a cheap 4,700 quarterback play. And man, do you have some value here. You could go with Jonathan Taylor. I would argue against it just because he's playing Kansas City. You got Jahmyr Gibbs against the Giants. Josh Jacobs might not play, so another value play at running back. You have Emmanuel Wilson. So again, Jacobs is a game time decision, but Wilson is value. Again, that's a division game. I would be a little bit nervous. But as far as the three quarterbacks, we're going to go through separate lineups. So first thing I want to really do is talk about the value at quarterback. Because this week, I think the value is at a game where you're not really going to notice. I think a lot of people might be looking at Drake May against Cincinnati. I don't hate that, but I feel like it might be a Travion Henderson show. That's the thing. With the Patriots, we don't really know who's going to get the rock. Yes, Drake May's probably going to have a 20-point week, but is that worth it to now, spend a bulk load at the quarterback position for a guy who's 7,000 almost? That's a big question. So for me, looking at who is the value play, a lot of people like Caleb Williams, considering he's playing Pittsburgh defense. It looks like a good matchup on paper. However, that is not something I would like to go for. So with all of the eluding factors and going each in different way, I like Jacoby Brissett against Jacksonville. He has a very good matchup, 27th ranked. You see it there. But also Joe Flacco is a sneaky one. The Patriots defense, the biggest flaw about it is that it has not had the best pass defense. So I don't mind a Joe Flacco. Remember, Jamar Chase has been suspended, so I like the T. Higgins stack there. And this is where I'll build a lineup with probably Flacco, Brissett, and then we'll do a Rudolph if that is the cheapest option. So looking at running back, I will say, it's hard to get those expensive guys. If you want to try and go with a Gibbs, I'm not really too sold on the toppest of top talent. Like, if I'm putting somebody as a running back who's at 8,500 for my salary, I want to be getting 25 points out of him at least. I feel like if you're spending that much on a running back, you need like your Christian McCaffrey last week, your guys that are going to go off. So I like Jaylen Warren, good matchup against Chicago. I know I mentioned DK Metcalf. It's really interesting to me because the Steelers defense is so good, they might just lean on them to win the game. Quinshon Judkins, this is an interesting game. Cleveland, Las Vegas. It's going to be a run fest show. The Browns have a good run defense, so I'm not that high on Genty. Again, Chase Brown playing one of the best defenses in New England. If you're just going down the list, it's really tough to find a good player with a good matchup. Now, Travis Etienne, Arizona, 23rd ranked run defense. Again, it's just kind of picking your marks with what do you think with certain things. So you could go cheap, Emmanuel Wilson, and that's another thing. Mentioning top highly touted running backs, Travion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson looks to be back this week. So again, I don't know if I want to take that price knowing I don't know how involved Stevenson's going to be. I don't doubt that Henderson's probably going to have another productive week, but Kamara even has a good matchup against the Falcons. They have not had a good run defense. So, again, finding the guys for best value, I put Emmanuel Wilson in there. The Packers are going to pound the rock no matter who's their running back. So, Emmanuel Wilson might not be, 25, 30 points like Josh Jacobs, 2 touchdowns, but he'll have 60 on the ground and a touchdown. And I think if you can get 15 out of a guy for 5,300, that is worth it. But now you're starting to look at the question, be like, Mike, you're going a little too cheap here. And I don't disagree. So, we got to get somebody for a little bit of a hefty price, and I want to go with Saquon Barkley against Dallas. It's a good matchup. However, Dallas's run defense looked pretty good. I know it's the Raiders, probably the worst offensive line of football, but I'm just not a big fan of the Eagles' run offense. It just hasn't been looking good. So I like Quinshon Judkins. He's probably going to have 20-plus carries in this game. Not that the Raiders have a bad run defense, but if you're looking at a rookie quarterback trying to prove himself, it's going to be run. That's all they're going to do in this game. So, again, there's a lot of different running backs that you can go for. Bijan Robinson has a good matchup against New Orleans. Gibbs, even Henry against the Jets. Barkley. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. I don't mind Jalen Warren, Javonte Williams. Like, there is so hard, and you have to pick your marks, pick your spots with a lot of these players. So, looking at filling the rest of these positions, it's going to be difficult. I mean, there's the wide receiver market is slim to none as it is. So, Jamar Chase, already mentioned him. He is out. I don't mind an Amon-Ra St. Brown game to bounce back. Realistically, the Lions coming off a loss, that could just be a stack in its own. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't mind that triple monster in the terms of the strategy that you want to go for. A lot of the strategies are, hey, you're going to go all Lions, like pick 3 or 4 Lions if you think the Lions are going to have a day. That's just, again, certain people's strategy. Half of it is luck. Because there are so many games, you kind of have to get lucky and pick your spots. Last week, big on Michael Wilson, big on Amon-Ra St. Brown, big on Justin Jefferson, big on, who was the other name that I really loved last week that just kind of did not perform to expectations. I think it was Puka Nacua, who's not playing until Sunday Night Football, but they all disappointed. So I'm hesitant to take Amon-Ra. I don't mind it, but the guys that I'm really looking forward to are kind of down the list here. And I think, honestly, it's going to sound weird, but I like the cheap options, man. Parker Washington is a very good play. A game the Jaguars are probably going to be in this week. That's one thing you have to note. The Cardinals, they have a good defense, don't get me wrong, and yes, Trevor Lawrence has not looked great, but this is a team that has to get going eventually. I got to put Amon-Ra in there just because, again, like I said, I think he's due. The Lions offense looked bad. Dan Campbell's going to want to come out swinging in this game. As far as a tight end, it's been McBride. I mean, McBride has been so consistent forever. He is the number 1 target for Jacoby Brissett, but then now we're looking at the salary, and it is not looking too good. Defensively, again, you gotta think it through. The Bengals defense, the Titans, again, the Colts, I'm not liking any of these defense, so I'm gonna go with the Saints. I actually think the Saints win that game. Remember, no Michael Penix, so again, it's Kirk Cousins, but now 3,600, I don't think that's gonna get the job done. Let's just take a peek at who we can get in the flex for 36. So Van Jefferson, Luther Burden, pretty much what you thought. I mean, Tyler Lockett, maybe he's some. There's about nothing. So this is where, again, tight end. I love to play the top guy if you can get him in the salary, but it's so difficult. So trying to fit this in here with Amon-Ra and T. Higgins, it's gonna be a really tough show. But honestly, let's try and go flex first because it's just gonna be really difficult. So here's kind of the base lineup I've came up with. It's just a lot of tough decisions because you can't fit everyone into the salary. Now we're kind of looking at 1,400. Okay, what can we change around here? Michael Wilson was the only real option I could fit into the flex because I really do believe that although Jacksonville has a good run defense, pretty much Arizona's going to air it out. And I know Michael Wilson had a good week last week. I said we were on him, but realistically speaking, he should have another solid, productive week without Marvin Harrison. Again, the passing offense for the Cardinals just looks really good. So I really don't know what to switch around here. Like I would change Goddard, but the problem is, do we go Tyler Warren against a good Chiefs defense? I think Ferguson's definitely not a bad idea considering Dak loves him. But again, here is where you can change things around. You can change your quarterback. You can go maybe a Lamar to Andrews. You can go a Goff to St. Brown. And this is where you have to get your stacks in terms of how you want to change your lineups. What I normally do is enter about 5 or 6 different lineups into the tournaments. And again, you can win with 50-50s. I don't really have a 50-50 lineup. I don't really have a double up lineup. Because it's all subject to change. Because I don't really have a safe quarterback. Yeah, Lamar is going to be good. Hurts is playing the worst. The Cowboys defense is awful. But again, the Eagles offense hasn't looked good. I would say Goff is a safe play, but again, can't really fit that Goff to St. Brown. Like I said, I would want to try and fit Gibbs just because I know they're going to pound the rock. But then look at the salary. We are way over. So it's like, can't fit T. Higgins, obviously. Again, it's all about trying to make it work. And just talking it out right now, I am not too sure how to do this right now. Hollywood Brown, I honestly don't mind Rashee Rice, but again, you can't fit that. Darius Slayton's going to be down, but I don't like that look just because there's no Jackson Dart, and he didn't look good. So I don't mind maybe a DK Metcalf, and this is like where I'm saying that if Mason Rudolph does play tomorrow, that is such a good cheap option. Now we're at minus 100. I don't even mind changing the Saints defense out for, let's say, the Titans are not good, Bengals are not good. Oh my gosh, this is bad. Maybe it is the Saints defense because nobody else is going to make it. But we can knock Ferguson. As far as a tight end for this week, Kelsey has looking at the favorable matchups, it could be Kelsey. Maybe it's Henry. I was a week late on Henry. I thought Henry would catch a touchdown against the Jets. Maybe that's a good thing. But yeah, just looking at everything and all the options, it's like you can't really fit all the guys that you want, and it's so difficult to say that because you need to have if there's a defense getting 20 points out there, you need that defense. If you have the right quarterback. The 1 week Davis Mills was on the top of the leaderboards, but I like Rudolph because of his matchup against Chicago. I really don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to play. He might force himself into rotation. I'm not doubting that. It's Aaron Rodgers. He's going to try and play. He's going to try and own the Bears once again. And I don't know if I would even play Aaron Rodgers just because he is dealing with that wrist injury. Again, it's not about an injury in terms of pain. It's more of an injury of, stability. Can he play with it? It's his non-throwing hand. So it's like, just trying to figure it out. So it's just such a tough spot because do you really trust Mason Rudolph to win you this week? It's, again, a tough thing to do. Maybe we change out the quarterback for Brissett. We go Brissett to Wilson. The defense is at 3,200. Get the Chiefs defense, who I know they get the Colts, but I don't think the Colts are going to do anything crazy. Steelers defense, maybe the Browns against the Raiders. I mean, there's so many different things you can do, but I do like that lineup. It is a solid lineup. I know people are probably a little questionable on Judkins. I trust Judkins this week. If you don't trust Judkins, like I said, there's a lot of cheaper options that you can work with. Emmanuel Wilson's a solid play. David Montgomery's probably going to get a touchdown. If we're looking at the chart right, Zach Charbonnet, I think, is a very good cheap option if you wanted to go with Charbonnet. However, he does not have a high ceiling. He has a very good floor, but not a good ceiling at all. So again, I don't mind Emmanuel Wilson if you are going to go expensive at the wide receiver position. Again, I'm not really too big on a lot of these wide receivers this week. You're looking at it. JSN should have a solid week, but again, the Seahawks are going to be up 24-3 by halftime, and that's why I like Charbonnet because, again, Kenneth Walker's banged up. That could be a game where Charbonnet is 20 points on the ground. Do I trust it? I'm not too sure. But it's like I would rather take the risk with Gibbs, who I know I'm going to get something good out of, and that's kind of what I'm looking at. So, again, Parker Washington's a risk as well. I mean, he's 5,200. He's pretty much his go-to target in terms of that. I mean, I don't even hate maybe a Dak Prescott revenge game. I don't think anybody's going to really be on the Cowboys. So let's go ahead and just flip the script. Let's change everything. Try and fit Dak Prescott. Give me a minute here. Go with Dak Prescott. Is it George Pickens or CeeDee Lamb? I mean, CeeDee Lamb torched the Eagles defense last time. Granted, it was week 1, so they didn't have the chemistry. Let's go with both of them. Let's go Pickens, Lamb, Prescott, considering if the Cowboys want to be in this game, they kind of have to play really well. So There you go. Looking at it, I don't really know who do you get for 3,600 that's any good. I mean, this is where you have to down Gibbs and then probably go with Charbonnet. But again, that's kind of the things you have to do if you want to take the hits on the chin. Again, I don't think you need to go expensive running backs. I think Charbonnet can get you 15. I think Wilson can get you 15. I don't really think this is a week. I know I'm saying this for probably the third week in a row. I do not think that there is a running back that's going to have 35, 40 points like a Jahmyr Gibbs, like a Bijan Robinson, like a Jonathan Taylor is not going to do anything this week. So it's like, what is the chalk? Is it Gibbs? They play the Giants. The Giants are not good. I could see Gibbs going for 200, but it's like, do you want to take the risk with a couple low running backs and have like a crazy wide receiver day because you just think, the Cowboys could just go off for some reason? I don't know. Again, it's all about just kind of testing the waters here. So A.J. Brown could torch the Cowboys defense. I mean, you could just run A.J. Brown on the backside. I mean, that's not a bad idea. There's so many different things you could do. I'm still going to stick with DK. I think that's not a bad idea. Then we can maybe up Hunter Henry and try and fit McBride. Okay, McBride's not going to fit. Maybe we down the defense here to the back to the Saint. You see, I'm moving a little quick. So apologies if you can't really follow me here, but I think this is how we're going to do it. Last week, I know it wasn't in the video, but I had a lineup with Christian Watson and Jordan Love, and it didn't work out because you had a lot of different kind of players that just kind of crack the top 20. And it's, again, you gotta pick your marks with what kind of players you want. So now at the flex, we only have 4,000. I don't mind downing DK, downing McBride, but I feel like you need McBride considering we saw what happened the last couple weeks. So how is Bowers? Maybe we go double tight end with Brock Bowers. I mean, the Browns are pretty good against them. Here's the thing. I'm not having a feeling this week. I will say I don't mind Rashee Rice, but then, we're over heavy. So maybe we just down DK and Pickens and then just say, all right, we'll figure out what do we want here with the two positions of wide receivers. So Parker Washington and DK, can we fit that? No. We could fit DK, but not Rashee Rice. And this is where it's just so complicated, guys. It's like, how can you fit all the guys that you want? You physically can't. It's impossible. So let's go double tight end just for fun and games. 4,900, last kind of guy here. I don't mind an Alec Pierce, a DJ Moore. Yeah, perfect. Michael Wilson. I don't mind Michael Wilson and Trey McBride. But then at that point, I might just want to change Dak and go with Brissett. I mean, again, there are so many different combinations. It's like trying to solve a statistics equation. There's an unlimited amount of things that you can do to put in these certain lineups. Honestly, I feel pretty good about that. But again, you have to rely on those running backs that you don't really have to know about. So again, all the information is kind of laid out there for you. And I will say the matchups to look out for is Lamar beating up on the Jets. This matchup right here. Pittsburgh, Chicago, it's a weird game. Again, the Bears don't have the best defense, but maybe the Pittsburgh offense struggles because it has Mason Rudolph. Again, the Bengals, Patriots. I think the Bengals keep it close. You got Flacco. Again, everyone's talking about, Burrow's coming back. I think Flacco to T could have a solid week just because the Patriots secondary has not lived up to expectations. The run defense has been great. Pass defense, not so much. Giants, Lions coming off a loss. Lions could just open up the floodgates. It could be a Goff, Amon-Ra, J-Mo, Gibbs, that kind of lineup. You have, maybe it's the Vikings lineup. You have, I don't like the Vikings or the Packers, to be quite honest with you, this week. I'm not a big fan of it. I would stay away from that game. I would stay away from the Chiefs Colts game. The only thing that you could do from the Chiefs is maybe a Patrick Mahomes or Rashee Rice, maybe even an Xavier Worthy. They could just pass at will. Mahomes is mad. I mean, the Chiefs are 5-5. That's another lineup I do not mind. So just to recap here, the top 5 quarterbacks I would consider in any of your lineups: Jacoby Brissett, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff. Pretty sure I did not say, did I say? I probably said Brissett. But one of those combinations. I don't even mind a Flacco, a Shuck. Again, there's a lot of different combinations that you can do, but you have to be confident in the quarterbacks that you have. And I think my most confident guy, Jacoby Brissett. Charbonnet is sneaky. He could have 2 touchdowns on the ground, could have like 15. Maybe Kenneth Walker is ruled out, and then everyone's going to be on Charbonnet. Charbonnet's probably going to be chalk. But I was on Woody Marks last week, who played Tennessee, and they kind of shut the run game down. I don't know. Again, I feel like I feel like I'm coming off to the audience as I'm unsure, but it's just so many different combinations that you can have in your lineups. Like I said, if you wanted to go heavy running back, and I think this is the lineup I'm going to submit, by the way, maybe take Bowers out and maybe take my shot with a 7,200 player in T. Higgins. I don't hate that. I think that's a perfect round out to the lineup just because you're going cheap at running back, and I think that's the way to go this week because you need those expensive wide receivers. I don't really out of all the no-name wide receivers, who is going to be the player that steps up? Maybe it's Zay Flowers. He's not a no-name, obviously, but again, who for cheap? Who can you get for cheap, like dirt cheap, that can step up? Matt Collins, who had a solid week Thursday, but again, that was against a man-to-man defense. Cincinnati hasn't been great. Is it Kupp against Tennessee? He hasn't been great. Bateman's out again. Again, managing all the situations, I think the best thing to do, just to recap, the best thing to do for this week, quarterback with a good matchup, Jacoby Brissett. Go a little cheaper at quarterback with somebody who's going to have solid productive play of like 20, 25 points because you can have better value with a cheaper quarterback rather than a Lamar Jackson. Lamar might have 30. I don't hate putting him in there. But as for a quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, safest option, 47 completions last week, very consistent, very safe and all reliable, with Michael Wilson to Trey McBride. That triple stack could be a great just for everything. The one thing I will note, the Jaguars love to run the ball. They love to keep possession of the football. So it will be tough if the Jaguars do get up early and they do control the clock and Brissett doesn't get many possessions, but that's the only possibility. And I think it's unlikely given the success of the Cardinals defense so far this season, and now they are fully healthy. Running backs, cheap running backs. Again, we'll go back to it, but the top of the running backs, nothing sticks out to me like, oh, this guy's going to have a day. Maybe it's Saquon Barkley. I'm just not getting that feeling. Jacobs is going to be out most likely. If Jacobs is playing, we might be screwed. So hopefully he doesn't play. Emmanuel Wilson, a great sneaky option. If Jacobs ends up playing, I wouldn't mind ETN. Like I said, Montgomery's good. But again, that's just kind of where you're at, slim pickings. If Jacobs does play, I do not mind Barkley, Henderson, both have really good matchups. Like I mentioned, Gibbs as well for the higher expensive running backs. But for your cheaper guys, Charbonnet and Wilson should get the job done. Higher expensive guys, JSN's always a good go-to, but I'm not feeling like 30, 35. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Tennessee, it's going to be a blowout. Amon-Ra, love that option. I can't really fit him in the lineup considering he's 8,000. T. Higgins, at the bottom at the flex. Love him considering the fact that he's the only receiver on the Bengals. Patriots have not had the best success at covering the pass. London is out, so it's like maybe you go with a Pitts. That's not a bad idea. I personally think with Brian Thomas Jr. out and Marvin Harrison Jr. out, Michael Wilson and Parker Washington are two good go-to guys. But I've been rambling on long enough. Hopefully this is enough information for anyone if you need it for the lineups. Defensively, I really think the Saints get the job done. Again, Kirk Cousins has not looked good in the absence of Michael Penix so far this season. So I'm going to stop yapping for a while because if you made it to this point in the video, just appreciate you keeping the dream alive. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that sub button if you're new. It's been Mike Zanetti in a little bit of a different kind of situation for you, if you will. But yeah, this video has been going on long enough. Appreciate you hanging out. DFS. Let's dream big. Let's hit the home run lineup, and we'll see you in the next video.